Did you know that Joe Chill, the man who killed Batman's parents, had a son? Hello again, Bat fans! In this episode we check out a very strange and overlooked story in the graphic novel called Batman, Full Circle. This story takes place in the early days of Dick Grayson as Robin. Batman has been active in Gotham for a few years and now he has a sidekick to fight crime. One night, a group of hookers is attacked by the Reaper, the old vigilante that used to kill criminals in Gotham. The Reaper has somehow returned and spreads chaos in the streets. The return of the Reaper leaves Batman and Commissioner Gordon in shock, as they know that the original Reaper is dead. The news about the Reaper soon reach Rachel Caspian, the daughter of the original Reaper, and she goes back to Gotham. And then we are introduced to Marcia Duncan, a businesswoman who is associated with the man who is impersonating the Reaper. This man is none other than Joe Chill, Jr. That's right. As it turns out, this is the son of Joe Chill and he wants revenge against Batman. Joe Chill Jr. witnessed how the Reaper killed his father with help from Batman, and so he and his sister Marcia came up with a plan to kill Batman. Later, Bruce is reunited with Rachel, who thinks that her father is not actually dead. Bruce comforts her and goes out as Batman to find the Reaper. What he doesn't know is that Rachel also goes out to the streets for the same reason. The Reaper finds Rachel first and is about to attack her, but Batman shows up to stop him. The fight doesn't go well for anyone, as Batman is more concerned about Rachel than the fight, and he is forced to escape with her to safety. The Reaper takes the chance and retrieves the gun of Joe Chill where Batman hid it, underneath the Wayne Foundation building. Joe Chill Jr. returns home, where his little son is waiting for him. Chill avoids the kid and talks with his sister about the incident with Batman. Marcia then tells Chill that the best way to get Batman's attention is to capture Rachel. Like this, the Reaper attacks the Thomas Wayne Clinic, where Leslie Thompkins is hiding Rachel. When Batman learns about this, he goes back to help Leslie, and once she is safe, he goes after the Reaper to rescue Rachel. Batman arrives to the building where the Reaper is holding Rachel. Batman uses knockout gas against the Reaper and it works, but Marcia attacks Batman from behind with some tranquilizer darts that leave him unconscious. Marcia and Joe Chill take Batman and put him on a death trap, where he is forced to watch a short film that recreates the murder of his parents with a twisted version of himself as a kid. This psychological torture works and Batman loses the will to fight. Back in the Batcave, Dick Grayson becomes worried about Batman and using the clues that Batman left about the Reaper, he becomes Robin, takes the Batmobile and goes to the place where Batman is being held prisoner. In the meantime, Joe Chill Jr. and his sister have an argument and they turn against each other. Marcia intends to take Batman to some gangsters to collect a reward, but Chill won't allow her to do that. Marcia then tries to shoot Chill, but her gun has been completely unloaded by Chill himself. Using the Reaper's sights, Chill kills his sister and gets ready to eliminate Batman. Robin arrives just in time to stop the Reaper. Hearing the fight going on, Batman gets out of his trance and breaks free from the trap, all because of Robin. His concern about the boy is greater than his guilt about his parents' death. Once he is free, Batman fights Chill and this time he beats him to a pulp. Chill decides to use his father's gun against Batman, but the Dark Knight manages to jam the weapon, making it explode in Joe Chill's hand. Joe Chill Jr. is knocked unconscious and his little son tries to help him. Batman finally learns the identity of the man impersonating the Reaper, and he hopes that now that things have come full circle between father and son, things will end for good. In the end, Rachel returns to safety while Batman and Robin dispose of the Reaper's helmet and disappear into the night. That was Batman Full Circle. It is a very polarizing story for quite a few reasons. In the first place, this was one of the last contributions to the Batman mythos by the creative team of Mike Barr and Alan Davis. They started working on Batman back in the 80s, on Batman and the Outsiders, and later they were among the first creative teams to take over Detective Comics after DC rebooted the continuity with Crisis on Infinite Earths. Mike Barr and Alan Davis did some good stories. even though they didn't fit in the new continuity, and of course, they also came up with the controversial Batman Year 2. It was meant to be the sequel to Year 1, and they introduced this new villain called the Reaper. We've already checked that story, but in case you haven't, be sure to check it out. After that story, Mike Barr and Alan Davis did not work together again on Batman until now. Batman Full Circle is supposed to be the direct sequel to Batman Year 2, as Barr and Davis bring back the Reaper, but that is where things start to get confusing. You see, this time the Reaper is the son of Joe Chill, the man who killed Batman's parents. Apparently, Joe Chill Jr. was always present and witnessed everything between his father, Batman, and the original Reaper during Batman Year 2. That is already quite unbelievable, but then they also expect us to believe that he could just become the Reaper simply by putting on the costume, which, by the way, is never really explained how he got in the first place. And speaking of unexplained events, Joe Chill Jr. also prepared a film where he recreated the events of Crime Alley in order to torture Batman. That implies not only that Joe Chill knows the secret origin of Batman, but also the fact that he filmed, edited, and staged the actors in that short movie all by himself. When you think about it, it really becomes absurd and ridiculous. At this point in Mike Barr's career as a Batman writer, he was on a downward spiral. Full Circle is not as good as some of the old stuff from Mike Barr. In fact, Full Circle is just full of elements from previous Mike Barr stories, so it feels like you're not reading anything new. It really feels like a rehash of Batman Year 2. The art by Alan Davis is as good as usual, but it is not enough to compensate for the lackluster writing. As usual, Mike Barr delivers the extra gritty and violent Batman, so that doesn't come as a surprise. Robin, on the other hand, was badly portrayed. His characterization was completely off, and he acted more like Jason Todd than Dick Grayson. And that just goes to show how Mike Barr didn't understand Robin. Now, speaking of the villains, the son of Joe Chill was the weakest point of the story. He is out to get revenge against Batman and fails. His son is meant to represent some sort of poetic element, but instead it comes off as something unnecessary and rather dumb. It seems like Mike Barr was kind of obsessed with the idea of father and son in the Batman mythos, as he already wrote the graphic novel Son of the Demon. Why else would he include the son of Joe Chill, his son, as well as Robin as the son of Batman in this story? It's pretty evident what Barr was trying to do, but in terms of storytelling he failed big time. The whole subplot of the Joe Chill family was intense and completely out of place. Barr focused too much on the dynamics of the Chill family instead of the Batman vs. Reaper conflict, and that created a very anticlimactic ending. Mike Barr certainly focused a lot on the original elements of the Batman mythos, but he overdid some of the things that Bill Finger created, to the point where his original poetic intention became weak and was lost in a rather unoriginal and pointless storyline. And I say pointless because, in the end, nothing changed at all, and it's almost as if this story never actually happened. Which is actually convenient, because shortly afterwards, Year 2 was retconned and was no longer part of the main continuity, and that also goes for Batman Full Circle. Nevertheless, I know that there are people out there who just love this storyline, and that's fine. There are some great moments here and there, especially the art and the action sequences. They are simply phenomenal, and if you just happen to read this story for fun, it's one hell of a ride, especially for fans of the Mike Barr and Alan Davis Batman. And speaking of that, in the next episode we check out other special stories by Mike Barr and legendary artist Gil Kane in the next chapter of the Legends of the Dark Knight series. For that and many more Batman videos, subscribe now and don't forget to leave a like. Until then, Godspeed, my friends.